Hi everyone, it's Stu here from 3B. Today I'm going to be talking about the Atari VCS and the continued woes and problems that they faced in bringing their open platform console to market. Uh, as I'm sure a lot of you have become aware that the Atari VCS was announced a couple of years ago, I believe, with great excitement, a huge amount of promises that here was a powerful open platform that people could easily develop games for. And they would also not only have new games, but they would have sort of classic games and all of that. Lots of promises made, and there was an awful lot of excitement because, you know, there's a good amount of heritage with Atari, of course. There's an awful lot of sort of good feeling about Atari coming back, and they traded an awful lot off that. So much so that they raised over £2.5 million, around about $3 million, in pre-orders, which I think was over 11,000 pre-orders, with people backing the Indiegogo project, yeah, so there's an awful lot of money at stake. What's happened since is an incredible amount of mismanagement, lies, just misinformation, no information, promises of information, and then that not coming through. I almost backed the project, but as ever with a lot of these projects, they require a lot more money than what they were promising, and what they got in terms of cash simply wouldn't be enough to develop such a project and deliver the product as promised. So I didn't back it, and it was quite a lot of money to actually buy one of these consoles. Let's have a look. I think yeah, it's not coming up with the price on Indiegogo, but it was a fair amount of money to stump up, and they raised an awful lot of money, and as a result, the promises of having the console moved, the goals slipped, the target slipped, the promises of information slipped, and this just continued and continued. So much so that one of the key people, Rob Wyatt, who's the lead architect, who's basically been designing the product, the internals, the motherboard, everything that you would expect to run everything, has left not so much left the company. He was being paid through his own company to advise and develop the product for Atari VCS. He's left, and the reason he left is because he hasn't been paid in 6 months. So his last comments were along the lines of, well, my company, Rob Wyatt's company, Tin Giant, that provided the services in developing the initial product and motherboard for them, hasn't been paid for 6 months, and we've only just given them the first motherboard. And if you go on the Atari VCS website, they're making a big deal about all this. Not so much Rob Wyatt and Tin Giant, they're not mentioning that at all, but they're mentioning the fact that they've got the motherboard now, and this is really exciting. But it's just that they've got to debug it, they've got to do a whole bunch of things with it before they can even get it working. And the very fact that Rob Wyatt has left is very, very worrying. So that puts the whole project, for me, in doubt as to whether it's actually ever going to launch. The very fact they've not paid his bills for, his contract bills for Tin Giant for 6 months is also worrying. The additional thing is, what happens to all these people that have given the Atari VCS $2.5–3 million? Unfortunately, they have little comeback. They could possibly maybe do a class action lawsuit but that doesn't exist in the UK. So I'm not too sure how or what they would do. And once again, it highlights the problems with crowdfunding large projects like this, where an awful lot of promises are made on on a product that would normally require an awful lot more money than what they raised to bring it to market, or to at least bring it to the people that paid for it. And of course, there's the assumption still made with those that pay crowdfunding, for products, that you're buying a product. And actually you're not. You're just helping the development product with the promise of getting the product. But there's no actual guarantee of getting the product. So it's an unfortunate case, and it certainly looks like Atari VCS are doing everything in their power to hide information. On Reddit, there were people complaining and asking for updates, and then Atari eventually started to just remove people's comments, and they've gone in a complete lockdown. So much so that basically Atari VCS will not give anyone anywhere in terms of reporters or the media or anyone like that, sort of any real update. They're only doing it within their own microcosm and only on their own platforms. I don't even think they're on Reddit anymore. So it's very worrying. It looks like the project is dead, and they're just waiting for the fat lady to come along and have a good old sing. It's really unfortunate, and I feel really sorry for those that have stumped up a lot of money, and it's very unlikely for them to get any refund whatsoever. So yeah, it's sad news. Have you ever put money towards a project on any of the crowdfunding websites? I know I did. Elite Dangerous, the new one that came out a few years ago. That's really the only one I've really put any money into. Other than that, I've not actually bought any products or put any money towards products. But if you have, let me know. I'm always keen to know, did you get the product? Was it what you expected? Yeah, so it's always interesting to know what people put money into and whether they got it or not. And don't forget to subscribe, that'll be really cool. Really appreciate that. Give me a thumbs up and make sure you click the bell so you get alerted when I've done a video. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks again. Bye-bye.